What we're going to be using today is this pen. This is a 0.05 nib. It's the second smallest nib I have. This is a 0.8 nib. Okay, welcome to Simon Says Artwork. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment down below, subscribe to the channel and ring the notification bell. This video I'm going to be going through my blue sketchbook, part of my playlist of the big blue sketchbook, where I'll be doing lots more drawings, especially over next month, where I plan to do some Inktober sketches. So if you'd like to see some black and white images that I'm going to be creating, then please keep checking in on this channel and support if you can. At the moment it's been a mixture of some different types of imagery, and I started this by putting, I think it was a paint bucket on the page, drawing around it. That's where I got the circle, and then I scribbled around that. I did some lines going up to it that were just random and impulsive and didn't capture that on camera. So from this point on I thought I'm going to try to capture everything that I do, and my thought process for this video was just to make as many different shapes and concepts as possible. You know, parts were like vehicles, and then I turned those vehicles into two-story buildings which were shaped and, you know, somewhat inspired by Futurama design. But mostly this is a reference to my favourite and most influential artist, which would be Katsuhiro Otomo. I was always a huge fan of Akira. So this is where it's not quite finished yet, and I've drawn some of these buildings and some of the details, but you can see there's a lot of space going on, and this is how tiny some of the drawing goes. So I used these wispy marks off to the side, which initially looked like smoke, and I thought, you know what, I can make little houses and boxes and buildings and tunnels and pathways and hatches and all kinds of different things out of those wispy shapes. I quite like the idea of having lines that I could then enforce perspective on and put windows and doorways and, you know, just create this structure around it. And I liked drawing all of these different structures from my imagination with no reference, and the inspiration being, as I said, aside from Katsuhiro Otomo's Akira, also Futurama and other sci-fi cartoons, which I think always have interesting and fun designs. But I didn't have those in front of me, I just drew shapes, and I know how to apply perspective to shapes, so that's what I was doing here. I'll do a tutorial on perspective soon. Everyone does this on their art channels, but I think I could do it slightly differently because I don't really follow rules the same way that other people do. Even though it's the same rules, it's just a different way of learning it. So I might do that because I think some people learn differently, just as I do. And for drawings like this, I think so long as you understand the principle, you know, can really push to try to create shapes and concepts in perspective. And I think it's quite enjoyable to see how these things just develop and grow. And it's such a small nib that it just becomes this microscopic world that I'm creating. Now, I did use a couple of different pens. I think I started off with a rotary pen, And then I used the dip pen, which you may have seen earlier on in this video, and that was really dark lines for the center, where I have this strange kind of almost I don't know, almost a force field ring thing going on by these different pillars. Do you see it there? It's kind of darker outline on the left hand side of the page at the moment. Anyway, that was done using a dip pen, which I liked, but it did bleed through to the other pages. And then this is done with, I believe, a 0.05 nib, which is very small lines, and I do have one size smaller than this nib, but it's not worth doing on this page because it'd just be too faint, and I wasn't going that far into the distance. But the idea is that the heavier the nib, the more in the foreground it is, and the smaller the nib, or the lighter the marks it will make, the more in the background, in the distance it will look, and it will have that nice effect. Creating these designs and shapes was just kind of like bubbles and cups and different things like that, and it just creates this amazing complex patchwork of different structures and network of different sectors, and it's all being engulfed by what could be potentially a nuclear explosion, which is what it was, I think, in Akira, and I always enjoyed that film. So that was the idea here, and there it is. That is the finished product. It's the most complicated drawing that I think I've made, and yeah, I'm glad that I got it done. I learnt a lot from making it. I might do something similar again in the future. Okay, that is the drawing done. This is what it looks like. Pretty complicated, pretty technical. I think it's an interesting double page, especially when you're flicking through this book. This double page is just something a bit different. So that's the video. Hope you enjoyed. See you in the next one.